Hey, I'm Kyle. I'm Pastor Kyle. I'm the pastor here at First Baptist Church in Fairbury.
And I'm Jason. I'm one of the parishioners here.
And we just got back yesterday from a relief trip for the flood efforts. I got an email from a pastor friend in Beatrice, and he asked how things were going here, and he mentioned there's an immediate need. And of course, we knew there was a need, but that sort of lit the fire, and I called a pastor friend of mine in Fremont, and one thing led to another, and we put together, I just invited people to come out on Saturday, which was yesterday, and we headed up to Fremont to help out and see what we could do to serve the immediate need in the area. We got there, and I'm not sure we had any idea of what to expect when we got there. I don't know what your perception was.
My thoughts were, there's a need, but with us down here in Fairbury, we didn't get nearly the flooding that they did up there, nothing more than normal. And, we've been doing a good job of sending pallets of water up there, and God bless the kids up there at the high school for doing that, because it was needed, because we could see when we got up there, pallets of water and clothes and bedding and food that was donated, but until you see it, you don't understand it. We got to Fremont, and even in Fremont, we drove in there, I'm like, this isn't so bad. But then when we got around to the certain neighborhoods, then you can see the impact of just trash and stuff that people had gotten out of their houses. And one of the houses me and Neil Cole and Tyler Weishon from Beatrice went to, a police officer pulled up and said, hey, the Tide truck is at Walmart. And when I say that, that's a semi with nothing but washers and dryers at Tide supplies. And if you have any clothes or whatever needs to be washed and your washing machine's not working, go on out there and it's available. So.
Yeah, it was interesting. Well, a group of 8 of us drove up, and we went to the Baptist Church in Fremont, which is the connection we have. They connected with an organization called No Town Left Behind. And what they do is they reach the people who have been impacted by the flood, who for whatever reason, and there are many reasons, have not been reached by the Red Cross. So these are the poorest of the poor. For whatever reason, they're not getting the help like that. And so we went into the church building, and it was a distribution center, and the shelves were just put together real quick, and they were half empty because they said they had so many trucks come in already and the stuff was flying off the shelves. And so we helped organize that, and it felt like it made a little bit of an impact. But to be honest, I didn't feel like we'd really fully experienced it until we went to Valley and then went on to Waterloo. That was a huge impact for me. So Valley is doing an incredible job, and they had a lot of faith communities working together, and they had a warehouse there that was a satellite of the warehouse in Fremont, who helped Valley and surrounding areas into Iowa and Missouri and all the way to Wood River. So they're doing a great job. But then we went to Waterloo, and we actually helped and saw what the flooding did on the floodplain, and there was sand everywhere from the flooding, from the river, earth movers. It's hard to wrap your head around. It's hard to even describe it.
When we first pulled in, there was like earth movers moving the sand around. We had to wait for them to get out of the way until we finally got in, and then we did, and I don't think these people were expecting us. I don't know if they got a heads up or not. And so we pull in, and they're just like, well, pull in back over here, and we'll see what we can do. Well, you get past the entryway, and then you see this fence line, and it just had junk. And when I say junk, it wasn't, bags of trash and pieces of paper. It was large pieces of lumber. This place is called Junk Stock. And I guess it's a place where they have like flea markets every so often. And so they had a lot of supplies there. And there was tents, and I mean, like tents the size of bigger than you would ever see. And I can't explain it. There's pictures. There'll be pictures, and you can see some of the stuff that we had to just put in the piles for them, all the while walking through muck this thick to get to it and move it around. We just got there. This is what needs done. We just got to work.
Yeah, and I mean, mud in the buildings that was inches thick, and we saw the line where the flood went up to, and it was better than 4 feet high. It came up to, when I was standing, it came up to about here, and I'm fixed 6 feet tall. So at one point, all of that was underwater, and that was just unreal to me. And it's early enough. It's early enough when we interacted with the people there. They were They were working hard. They had a great attitude, but they weren't sure what to do next. I mean, it's in the initial stages, and they got so much work. Overwhelmed, I think, would be a good word. And I don't feel like we did a ton of work, except every time we said, well, it's just a little bit we're doing. We're glad to be here. They were so grateful. I think it just helped to know that they weren't alone in it. So we did a day's worth of work, and it felt like they're going to have days upon days upon days of work, and we helped just a little bit, and the efforts that are going to continue, and hopefully will continue to help. But I just think being able to support them was a huge help to them. Even the response we got today as they reached out and said, "Oh, thank you so much. It was such a blessing. It was so encouraging." To me, that just reaffirms the fact that we can use just our little bit, and it gets multiplied. Just hauling stuff out of buildings, because they're going to have to muck out all of that 4 inches of sludge. Then they're going to have to tear down all that sheetrock, and just all the sorts of work. We could take forever thinking of the list that they alone had to do.
Yeah, that's just that one place. You imagine hundreds of square miles of houses and communities, and what are they going to do with all that stuff? You know, all the trash and moldy drywall and insulation, and like Pastor said, we were there for 7 or 8 hours and do what we could, and it was helpful. And but they've got months of work to do. The roads that we saw that were just crumbled, and I think I understand 13 bridges need to be replaced or something like that. It's overwhelming. So yeah, to me, at the end of the day, nobody wants to see this sort of destruction. Nobody wants to see this sort of brokenness. Nobody wants to experience it. And I don't want to make light of a terrible, horrible situation, but in the middle of the situation, the encouraging thing, if you can look at it that way, is to say, look at all of the people who have come banded together and said, we don't really have much, but how can we help? And for me, it was just saying, you know what? I feel like this is what God does anyway. He comes down in the middle of our brokenness and junk, and he says, I'm here to care for you, and he shows us his love. And the least I can do is on one Saturday, and hopefully it'll be more than that, but this one Saturday, say, how can we come alongside you and say, you are not alone? Somebody from Fairbury who never knew really where Waterloo was and what situation you were in cares enough to step outside of their schedules and their busyness and just say, hey, we can show up and we can help a little bit. And we did, and to be honest, I feel like God multiplied that in amazing ways, and just being willing. So I was hugely blessed, and I think they were blessed in the little we could help. And it's a long-term thing, so I hope that more people can step up over the days ahead. So it was me and Pastor Kyle, Twyla Sheets and her son Brigham, my daughter Kaylani and her friend Gabby Phillips, Tyler Weishon from from Beatrice, and Neil Cole here from town. And the interesting thing was, we got there, and Neil, the first thing goes, what was her name?
Michaela?
Neil? They knew each other. Michaela is Paul Schramm's sister. So there's actually a connection there between them and us here in Fairbury, but we had no idea walking into it that was going to happen. So if we can get something together again, we'd love to do another trip up there.
And I would say that this is just a huge extension of the way the community of Fairbury is done. We took some of the leftover extra water that was going to Peru. They had a few leftovers. We took that, and that blessed the town of Fremont. So this was First Baptist Fairbury doing what we could do as an extension of our local community, as an extension of Nebraska. So it's just more than just one person. It's a lot of people, and we're grateful to be a part of it.